Okay, we'll give it just another minute for everybody to join with us. All right. Welcome to the virtual exploration for all West Virginia students, sponsored by the West Virginia Association for Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers and StrivesCan. Thank you for joining us. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at WVACRAO.org. This presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at the same time, or at the same website at WVACRAO.org. So now I'd like to turn it over to our presenters.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to go ahead and start and share my screen with you guys. All right. So welcome, everyone. We are so excited to be here with you guys today. Welcome to today's panel. Our topic is going to be making college an affordable option for you, navigating financial aid. So we're so lucky to have several different financial aid advisors actually here to kind of discuss this topic with you and share all of our information. So we will go ahead and get started. All right, so we are Glenville State College, and we are located in the beautiful state of West Virginia. If you have no idea where Glenville State College is located, you can actually look at the state and put your finger directly in the center of it, and that's where we are. So we're really conveniently located, very centrally located, so you're just a short drive away from our bigger cities like Huntington, Charleston, and Parkersburg. So my name is Lexi, and I work here in our admissions office. As you can see on the screen, that is our admissions team here. So we're here to help make the application process super easy for you and to help guide you and get you in contact with our financial aid team. And so I am joined here with Sherry, and her contact info is on the screen, and she is going to kick it off for us. So over to you, Sherry.
Hi guys, so like she said, my name is Sherry Goff. I've been in financial aid about 4 years, almost, but it's not as complicated as people think it is. Doesn't have to be scary, but I'm just going to go over a couple of things about financial aid. There are different types of financial aid. So those are grants, scholarships, work study, workshop options, and loan options. So your grants, that's free money. That does not have to be repaid. You don't ever have to pay that back as long as you are following the requirements of the grant. Some of them have options that if you don't fulfill the options, then they turn over to a loan later on. Scholarships, again, does not have to be repaid. Those are going to be things like your academic scholarship. If you're in West Virginia, your Promise Scholarship. A lot of scholarships come from the individual institutions. And so then obviously your work opportunities. So if you want to get a job on campus, those are the workshop and work study are options for you. Work study is more need-based, but for you, it's pretty much you're still gonna get that paycheck if you are work study or workshop, as long as the position is open. So those are the free money types of aid. And then your next step is going to be your loans. So there are 4 basic types of loans. You have your federal loans. That's going to be your subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Those are your William Ford loans. The biggest difference between your subsidized and unsubsidized, one draws interest and one does not. So your subsidized loan does not draw interest as long as you are enrolled at least half time. So, and then your unsubsidized will begin to draw interest as soon as it's dispersed to your account. The easiest way for me to remember which is which, the Federal Department of Education subsidizes your interest. So the subsidized loan does not draw interest, your unsub does. The subsidized is it's a need-based loan. So that's going to be based on your EFC, your estimated family contribution, and that's going to come from your FAFSA. When you file your FAFSA, that's going to be the number that it generates from all of the information that you put in there. On both of those loans, repayment doesn't start until 6 months after you graduate, or if you withdraw from school, or if you drop below half-time enrollment while you're in college. So at that point in time, you would need to, your 6-month grace period would begin. It is a lifetime grace period. So if you use part of it and then you go back to school, then say you use 2 months of your grace period and then you go back to school in full-time enrollment, then you would have 4 months upon graduation or leaving school. So it's something to keep an eye on, but those are the two federal. So then we're going to go, the other PLUS loans are also federal, but these are parent loans. So the first two are loans in your name as the student. The PLUS loans are generally for graduate students in your name, or your parent can take out a loan that would pay for your education. So basically the parent would take out the loan. They would be responsible for repayment, but it would be paid to the school for your educational expenses. So the PLUS loan is not based on need. That is a credit check. So, you know, if you have good credit, your parents have good credit, there shouldn't be a problem. If they have not so great credit, then that would be okay too. You have other options. So your next option after your parent loan would be, your private loans. We call those alternative loan options. So she went forward just a little quick.
Sorry.
Your private student loans, there's lots and lots and lots of them out there. You're looking at like your Sallie Mae, Wells Fargo, PNC, Discover, Citi. There's a ton of them out there. Those are not federal. Those are obviously private companies that offer loans for students. As far as interest rates go, you're looking at your best interest rates are going to be your unsubsidized and subsidized student loans, then your PLUS loans, then your private student loans. After that, if you wanted to go out and get an individual loan from your bank, those interest rates are generally higher than the education loans from the lenders that specialize in student loans. If you don't have interest, or if you don't have credit, which a lot of students in college do not have a credit rating, or if you've done some silly things and you've gotten yourself some bad credit early on, then they may require a cosigner. And we're good here. So things that financial aid can pay for. Financial aid pays for your education. It's an education aid. So that can cover a whole lot of things. It covers any expenses, books, living expenses, housing fees, room, board, your tuition, any course fees, any other fees that might be put on by the school that is for your education, basically. It can also cover things like transportation back and forth. If you're a commuter, It pays for your transportation back and forth. It can pay for maintenance on your car. You need a set of tires. Financial aid can cover that, get you back and forth to school. It will not buy you a new car. So you can fix the car you have with your financial aid, but you can't buy a new car with financial aid. So some other things that you can do is childcare. So if you have a child that you need to care for, they can help. Your education expenses can include your daycare expenses or baby expenses for that. So some of the other things we talked about, purchasing a car, but it doesn't pay for things like extracurriculars. So that's going to be like your on-campus clubs and your organizations. It's not going to pay for those fees. It won't pay for recreational things like games, skydiving trips, and all kinds of fun stuff that you can do, kayaking, whatever fun stuff that you can do while you're in college. It doesn't pay for those things. So you should not use your financial aid for those things. And I think that just about sums me up.
Yes. So thank you guys. That is our part of the presentation. If you need to contact us, you have our contact info. Definitely come visit us. We'd love to have you on campus. You'll be able to talk with your financial aid advisor in person, and she can sit down with you and go over everything personally for you. Definitely follow us on our Twitter. That's where we're going to post a bunch of events that we have coming up. So check us out, and I will go ahead and pass it over to Cody.
Okay, it wouldn't let me unmute myself.
Okay, there we go.
Hey everyone, my name's Cody. I'm the Associate Director of Financial Aid Operations at Marshall University. I wanted to first talk about, because I tend to kind of ramble on and talk really fast, but just so you guys know, financial aid can seem really complicated, and everything Sherry just talked about can be overwhelming. And with the stuff I'm about to talk about can be overwhelming, but just know that there are financial aid professionals across every university that's willing to help you and answer these questions that you have. So to start off, I want to talk about some financial aid options that Marshall offers. Our merit-based scholarships are something that we offer to incoming freshmen. There are 6 potential scholarships that they can be considered for. So when you apply for admissions to the university, you automatically are considered based off of GPA and ACT or SAT requirements. And we review these, and the scholarship's awarded based off of that determination and everything. So one thing I want to point out with these is that we do super score these. So we take the best of every area in those tests and create a composite score out of all of them to ultimately give you the best scholarship available. So to kind of add on to these merit-based scholarship options, this is our current 2021 merit-based scholarships for incoming freshmen that are residents. And you can see the amounts and GPA, ACT, SAT requirements here. And you can only have one of these. So just want to point that out, because some students think that you can stack those and you actually cannot. If you do retake an ACT or SAT score, or your GPA raises before school starts, then we do replace those scholarships to the higher tiered one. I do want to point out something else, that due to COVID, students can actually be admitted this upcoming 21-22 aid year without ACT or SAT scores at Marshall. And we are actually working on a test optional, we're calling it test optional get started scholarships for incoming freshmen. But basically what those are going to consist of is we're going to look at your GPA only and award a merit-based scholarship. It's not going to be one of our merit-based here. It's going to be a different one that we're just looking at your GPA only. And if you are to take the ACT or SAT, then you could potentially be eligible for one of these higher tiered scholarships, and we'll actually replace that. So moving on to our private scholarships that Marshall offers. So Marshall University has a foundation of private donors and everything that are donating money to the university to allow us to offer different scholarships to different students out there based off of all kinds of criteria. So back a couple years ago, we actually used to have paper applications that students would fill out each individual scholarship and turn in probably, I mean, at times it could be 10 to 20 applications per student for these types of scholarships. So what we decided to do, or what we started implementing, is our scholarship search and application portal. And the way this works is you go to this website link here, www.marshall.edu/SFA/scholarships, and this will take you to our scholarships page, and you can actually click on Find Private Scholarships, the green button, and this will take you to our portal, and you just log in and you'll complete this huge application. It'll kind of feel like a survey, and by doing that, you'll be potentially pre-qualified for a bunch of different private scholarships that Marshall offers. So I'm going to shift gears here and talk about the FAFSA. I know Sherry was talking about different types of federal aid. In order to be considered for any kind of federal aid, you have to complete the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. And this becomes available every year on October 1st, prior to the academic year. For this upcoming year, you seniors that are planning to attend, this is going to be, this is already available to apply for. And I want to stress, get on there and go ahead and do this application. The link to get to this is studentaid.gov. Why do you want to complete this FAFSA? So like I said before, this allows you to be considered for all types of federal student aid. And you can also be considered for other scholarships and other aid programs and state aid with the information that FAFSA generates, the EFC. And I'll kind of talk about the EFC here in a couple slides. So in order to complete the FAFSA, you need an FSA ID. This is the Federal Student Aid ID. This is basically a username and password that you use to log in and complete the FAFSA. As a dependent student, you're going to have to create one for yourself and your parents. And if you're an independent student, it's just going to be one for you, of course. But stressing this, that speaking from experience, it's usually harder to create or reset the FSA ID than it is to actually complete the FAFSA itself, it seems. So I want to stress, when you create this, please, write this information down and save it, and do not lose this password. So some things that you could possibly need when completing the FAFSA. So you're going to definitely need the FSA ID, of course. You're going to need social security number information for you and your parents, driver's license information, and Marshall University Federal School Code is listed on this slide, but it's any school that you plan to attend. They will have a school code, or you can search the school. If you want to add Glenville or Pierpont Community Technical College, you can also add them. You will also need federal tax information, including W-2s. If you did not work, then you'll just indicate that on the FAFSA, and you won't be putting any information on there. So what happens after completing the FAFSA? Department of Ed will review that and process it and determine if there are any issues with it. And then you'll be notified with a SAR, which is a student aid report. So this is going to let you know if there's any issues that you have to correct or what, or if it's okay, then it's just a copy of the FAFSA that you submitted. And once you receive that copy, we will also receive a copy and have to possibly correct any issues as well. So to go back to that EFC, I wanted to define that for you guys. So what the EFC is the expected family contribution. This is everything that you put on the FAFSA, financial information, just anything on there. All that information is taken, and Department of Ed has a calculation to determine what this number could potentially be. And what this is it's what FAFSA determines that you could potentially, what your family is reasonably expected to be able to pay toward college expenses. This number is not the bill. It's just a number used to determine what types of need-based aid that could be available to you. So another term I want to bring up to you guys is the cost of attendance. This is also known as the budget, and it is a number that's created by each school that each school that you could be potentially attending. And this is a combination of different expenses like tuition and fees, room and board, books, supplies, transportation, study abroad expenses, or just other miscellaneous expenses. I want to tell you that this is not the bill. A lot of students that I speak to think that this is the bill and think that they owe thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, when in reality, that's just the amount of the number that we can award aid up to. And you'll actually get a bill from the billing office to tell you what you actually owe to the university. So this is another number that we use to determine what types of aid could be eligible to you. So Marshall University's Financial Aid Office, we can be contacted by phone, email, or in person. And we are open weekdays, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in Old Main, room 116. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. That is it for me. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Ashley. I think you have to do it, Lexi. I'm not sure. Oh,
Okay. There we go.
click forward accidentally.
Okay, Ashley, shifting it over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Tennant. I am the Director of Financial Aid and Scholarships at Pierpont Community and Technical College. And I'm going to finish our presentation, and then we'll have some time for questions. After that, feel free to, we don't have any questions yet, but feel free to ask questions as we go too. If you guys have questions now, you don't have to wait until the end, but you certainly can. So my email address and our student services phone number is on this slide. And so you will have our contact information. And the first thing that I would like to talk about is to, Sherry and Cody both talked about cost of attendance a little bit, budget pieces, what financial aid can pay for and what it can't pay for. And one thing when we're talking about affordability in higher education and the institution that you plan to attend, one thing that is very important to look at is your room and board and housing options. It's very exciting to go to college, and a lot of students come out of high school and the first thing that they want to do is live on campus, and they want to live in an apartment that is on campus or close to campus. They don't want a double occupancy dorm room. They want their own. They want the biggest meal plan, and then they don't need it, or then they end up spending time with their friends in a shared dorm room anyhow. So you want to make sure that you are considering all of your options. And when you're looking at financial aid and you receive that financial aid award, you want to be sure that you understand that it's an estimate, and when your cost of attendance is estimated, that it's not the exact room and board. So you want to make sure that you understand that cost. With on-campus housing, you want to ask for all of the options and you want to review them thoroughly. You don't just want to pick the first one that is available to you. You want to make a decision based on what you truly need. And those options can be obtained from the housing office. And they typically, they're separate. The room and the meal plan is typically separate at most institutions. And there are several different options that you can pair together. So you might get a double occupancy room, but you might want a 7-day meal plan that is 3 meals a day opposed to a 5-day meal plan. A lot of institutions are now offering flex dollars, or dollars that can be spent outside of a dining hall if they have optional, what's it called? Like if you want to use the vending machines on campus, or if you want to use additional dining options. You also want to look at off-campus housing options. If you plan on living off campus and not on campus, but you're not going to live with relatives, you want to make sure that you ask questions and understand lease agreements, and Utility inclusion and exclusion. There are often times when we get students that come to us and they say, I need more financial aid because I didn't realize that when I signed this lease that none of the utilities were included, and now I have to pay my electric and my water. So you want to be sure, let your parents help you, let family members help you. Don't make decisions on your own, and always come to the financial aid office if you're not sure, because we'll help with that. We'll help you decide what might be best for you. We can look at your finances. If you're just getting your first job, don't think that you're going to have a paycheck big enough to pay your rent every month and your utilities. If it's your first job, we can help you budget. So make sure you're considering those. I want to talk a minute about the different levels of institutions. You have community and technical colleges and also trade schools that offer short-term programs. They have 2-year degree programs and 1-year certificate programs is what we offer here at Pierpont. We also have skill sets and very short-term training programs. Those are also offered at universities on a wider scale, but it's just not as broad. Community and technical college typically have lower tuition and fees, and typically there is no campus housing for community and technical colleges. Pierpont is actually, out of all of our community and technical colleges in the state of West Virginia, Pierpont is the only community and technical college that offers on-campus housing, and it's because we share a main campus with a university. So we have that option. Universities are your 4-year degrees and higher, graduate programs, some doctorate programs. Some of them, like I said, do offer the 2-year degrees and certificate programs as well. And this is important when we talk about some of the aid options that you have and schools that you have, attending requirements for those. Tuition is typically higher at universities because you're usually gaining a higher level of degree. And there typically are more stringent admissions requirements for a university. And then they also have the on-campus housing options. So one thing that you can do is make sure that you're meeting deadlines, especially when you're considering the community and technical college versus a university. You want to make sure that regardless of where you're going to attend, that you are meeting deadlines that will happen. You can be sure to ask questions of your high school counselor, any college, and I know that most colleges, you do not have to attend there to receive help from their admissions team, from their financial aid team. I know at Pierpont, you can contact us and you can say, I plan on going to Marshall or I plan on going to Glenville, but you're the closest school to me. Will you please help me? And we're going to help. And all schools in West Virginia, we have a really good team of institutions in West Virginia where we will help each other. So we don't mind working backwards. We have a lot of students that start at the community college level to make it more affordable for them and pay that lower tuition, and then they're going to transfer. We have articulation agreements with universities at the community college level. You start here and earn your 2-year degree and then articulate into a 4-year degree at a university. And we also have the transfer of our core general education courses, and that's across the entire state. So if you wanted to take your general studies, your English and your math and any of your core courses, you can take that and transfer them to other institutions. So make sure you're talking to your high school counselor about deadlines, your college counselors about deadlines, your financial aid office. And you can also talk to the Higher Education Policy Commission. That is at the state level. And I'll give you their website information here in a slide or two. And you can make sure that you gain knowledge of a good timeline to prepare for your applications from them as well. They offer Financial Aid 101 sessions, they offer FAFSA workshops, and that's going to help you prepare. You want to be sure you're looking not only at admissions deadlines, because that's the big one, and everybody, you want to make sure you apply for admissions, especially if you're looking at a selective program. However, you want to make sure that you also look at financial aid deadlines for federal, state, and private scholarships. So to fill out the FAFSA, there's not a deadline, but for individual programs that use FAFSA information, there may be a deadline. So when you visit the website for your school, that's the first thing that you're going to do. You're going to visit the website for the school that you plan to attend, and you may be unsure and you might attend, or you might plan to attend multiple schools at this point and you just want to research. Make sure that you're looking at the websites and you review the criteria, the deadlines, and the cost, okay? You want to make sure Pierpont's application for admissions is also the student's application for institutional scholarships. We also heard Cody say that. So there are a good deal of schools that when you apply for the admissions application, you're also filling out the application for institutional scholarships. You also want to make sure that any selective programs that you're interested in, that you check the requirements. There may be a fee to apply to fill out a separate application, and or there may be additional criteria there. I just mentioned there's no deadline to complete the FAFSA, but there are several deadlines for grants and scholarship programs such as the Promise Scholarship in West Virginia, the Higher Education Grant, and the West Virginia Invest Grant. Those programs all use FAFSA to determine eligibility, but they all have application deadlines. So you want to make sure that if you're applying for Promise, you fill out the Promise application on time. With the Higher Education Grant, there's not a separate application. However, you have to have your FAFSA completed by a certain deadline. So you want to make sure that you do that. The state information, the website is www.cfwv.com. And you're going to find a ton of information across the entire state for all institutions at that website. There also is a scholarship search engine on that website that you can use when you're searching for private scholarships. Something that is new to the state that we just started this past academic year is the West Virginia Invest Grant. This was proposed as the Free Community College Bill, and that is how we rolled it out throughout the state. So it is known as the Free Community College Bill. We get a lot of questions from students about attending community college for free. You can also use the West Virginia Invest Grant at other institutions. It does not necessarily have to be a community college. It just has to be a 2-year degree or less. You have to seek a degree, and it has to be either that 1-year certificate or that 2-year degree that are approved. There is a list of approved programs for each institution, and I'll give you that website information as we go through here. They have to be high demand 1 or 2-year degree programs. They're covered at the institution, at the institutional level. So each institution has a list of those programs. It can assist with paying the basic tuition and the mandatory fees. It does not cover 100% of your charges. So you are not going to receive the Invest Grant to cover your entire bill. There would still be additional funding. It also is a last dollar in program. So with the Invest Grant, it comes after federal grant money and state grant money, as well as institutional waivers. So if you have any of those other opportunities, you may not receive the Invest Grant. There are terms and conditions that apply to the West Virginia Invest Grant. One of the terms is that you must sign a master promissory note saying that you understand that you will live in the state of West Virginia 2 years after you receive the Invest Grant. If not, the grant turns into a loan and you must repay it. So that's one of the terms. Another one of the conditions of the grant is that you must take a drug screening. You must have a drug test prior to the beginning of each semester. So you have to take a drug test before you start each semester. And as long as you continue to pass your drug screenings, you continue to receive the grant. That drug screening does have to be taken prior to the start of each term. If you start the term and then decide to apply for the Invest Grant, you will not be eligible for that semester. You would have to wait for a future semester. So we tell students the applications are open now. Go ahead and apply. It doesn't hurt. You can apply for both years right now, 2020, 2021, and 2021, 2022. So we tell students, go out to the website, apply. Summer term, if you plan on starting school summer right after you graduate high school, sometimes that can be a little tricky. So you want to make sure you contact your financial aid office and be sure that you ask for help from a counselor. One of the other conditions of the Invest Grant is that you complete 2 hours of community service each semester that you attend within the semester timeline. So you can't do it prior to the semester or once the semester's over. You have to do it while you're enrolled in school. And all of the offices are providing, each institution has an office that is providing those opportunities for students. So you can contact the Student Services Department and find out, but it's 2 hours. It's not 20, so it's not a reason to not participate in the INVEST grant. You can get 2 hours of community service very easily. The website for the INVEST grant is www.wvinvest.org. You can view all the information there, the application. There's a sample promissory note that you can see to see what it looks like. If you have any questions at all, there's a contact us link there. The state office can help you. Any institution can help get you in the right direction as well. All right, how COVID-19 affects, or what the COVID-19 effects are on financial aid assistance. Just wanted to make sure that, and I'm sure that I speak on behalf of all institutions, including Glenville and Marshall, you want to contact the school of your choice to learn about virtual information sessions. Many schools have set up Zoom meetings, Microsoft Teams meetings, virtual sessions, so that if you need help, you can still come in. At Pierpont, you can still come into the office. Other institutions, I'm sure you can as well. It hasn't been limited. However, the time has just kind of slowed down. So we are offering virtual sessions if you don't want to come in. You also want to utilize your online resources and be sure that you're looking into everything. We always tell students, do not pay for assistance or guidance. If you Google how to complete your FAFSA and it wants you to pay $50, do not pay for that. Contact your local institution. We will help you. You also want to be sure you're using comparison tools. So something that we use is the shopping sheet. And you can use your FAFSA information once you've applied to multiple schools to use that shopping sheet to compare. It's a comparison tool. You also have the net price calculator that you can use on each institution's website. You should have a calculator where you can calculate estimated costs to attend that institution as well as estimated aid. So you can use that to determine what is most affordable. You may decide that you want to go out of state, and once you start looking at West Virginia schools, you'll see that we offer the same programs at a much cheaper option for you. Also, you might start looking at housing options, and if you attend one university versus another university or a community college, your housing options may be cheaper. So you want to make sure, don't think that we try to tell all students, please do not think that you can just borrow student loans to pay for your entire college education. You want to try to get grants. If you're not grant eligible and need-based aid eligible, then try to apply for private scholarships. Contact Cody. They have a great tool at Marshall for the foundation scholarships. Pierpont also has foundation scholarships, but they are separate applications, and there is a link on our website. If you visit pierpont.edu, you can see all of those options. You just want to make sure that you talk it out. Talk to the professionals at the institutions, ask them. We have seen it all, I promise. So if you won't have a question that we probably haven't answered before. Also keep in mind that with COVID-19, we have had several parents and even some students that have been affected financially. And your FAFSA asked for 2018 and for the new year, 2019 tax information. Make sure that you contact your institution if your income or your parents' income has drastically changed. There are special circumstances. There is a form that you can complete at every institution that will allow for adjustments to the FAFSA if you have drastic or significant changes in financial information. And it can be due to COVID-19 or maybe not. It might be some other, something else that has happened. So with that being said, we're going to thank you for attending our session today. And if you have any questions, please ask at this time. You have all of our contact information. This session will be available later too, so that you can view that again. If you didn't catch it in today's presentation, You also can go to any of our websites and our contact information is on there. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending today. When you close the window, there will be a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, again, this was just one of the many sessions that's being sponsored throughout the next few weeks. So be sure to sign up for additional sessions at WVACRAO.org. In about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as other session recordings at the same website. And again, that's WVACRAO.org. All right, thanks everyone.